What's up everybody, Aidan McCarthy here. For those that don't know me, I'm currently a level 2 strength and conditioning coach in Australia and also an exercise scientist here in Australia as well. But the main focus here today is I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube saying about this is how you do it, this is how you gain the maximal muscle gains as possible. And lately I did a literature review on actual muscle hypertrophy, which is muscle building, and what factors actually help maximize the gain of muscle that you will build. So I've actually made 11 facts on the myths and de-myths and trying to debunk it and give you the facts of what will actually help you make muscle. So we'll shortly go through those little facts, but the main thing I want to say is you need to upregulate the mTOR system. So that those that don't know the mTOR system, you can look it up. It's quite a complex system, but really what it does, it is maximizes the muscle protein synthesis if it's updated. If you do not upregulate the mTOR system, you will not get muscle mass gaining because it upregulates the proteins that will build your muscle. So you need to upregulate that. So let's have a look in. We'll have a look at all the facts and let's see, hopefully that'll help you gain that little bit more muscle. Okay, so here we have the facts. Muscle building facts for training. So the first fact is you actually want high volume load. So the formula for high volume load can be counted right here. So it's reps times set times resistance. You want a high volume load, which can lead to greater muscle protein synthesis. It will have a longer lasting effect. So the more reps, sets and resistance you do, the better. It doesn't mean you have to lift heavy. You can still lift light. As long as you have a high volume load, you will maximize that muscle protein synthesis effect. High volume load is key. It's probably the most key factor out of all these training tips. You need a high volume load. So that's the main takeaway here. So the next one, 3 sets is minimum. 3 sets has a significant effect on muscle protein synthesis compared to 1 set. So I looked through the studies and then there was 1 set, you had a little bit of muscle protein synthesis, but 3 sets was like a significant gain in the muscle protein synthesis. So if you're doing 1 set, you need to do at least 3. There was also another study that went up to 12 sets, and 12 sets had higher than 3 sets of muscle protein synthesis upregulation, but it wasn't a non-significant effect. So the difference between 3 sets and 12 sets was non-significant, but it still was a little bit more. So if you're going for higher sets, it is better. Okay, so 2 to 3 minute rest periods. It shows a greater effect on muscle protein synthesis than 1 minute rest periods. Everyone, I always see this, 1 minute rest periods on all the muscle building. I get time can be a factor, but actually 2 to 3 minutes has been shown to have a greater effect. So if you can bump it up to 2 to 3 minutes, it will definitely help. So that's another big takeaway, because everyone says 1 minute rest, 1 minute rest. 2 to 3 minutes in the literature has shown to have greater muscle protein synthesis. Also, at the end of this, if you want to know where I've got my literature, feel free to send me a message or add it into the comments. I'm happily show you the literature where I found it all. Training to failure is not required. So there was a study that showed the same muscular hypertrophy gains were seen in both a training to failure group and a training to failure group that wasn't. So that is key, guys. Everyone, tries to train to their muscles, literally cannot lift like the dumbbell up, bar up, whatever you're using. You do not have to train to failure. Remember, the high volume load is the key. Training to failure is not the key. Okay, that's a big takeaway as well. All right, repetitions. So a wide repetitions can actually be used. I always see 6 to 12 repetitions. You can actually vary it between 5 to 30 repetitions. If we go back to the slide before, we can remember that volume load's the key. So remember, it's sets times reps times repetitions. So you can actually use up to 30 repetitions. They will all show gains in hypertrophy. So I looked at studies that did 30 repetitions, ones that did 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. They all showed gains in muscle hypertrophy. You do not have to lift 6 to 12. You'll still gain muscle hypertrophy. but you need to choose according to what muscle characteristics you're desired. So if you want to gain strength plus gain muscle hypertrophy, then you'll be doing around that 6 to 10 to 12, what is normally recommended. But if you're not too worried about the strength gains, you can do 20, you'll still see that muscle hypertrophy gain. So it is not a big factor. The high volume load is the factor. So don't worry about the repetitions, as long as you got high volume load. That's key. But if you want strength, which a lot of us actually do want strength when we do it, especially if you're training athletes, then I definitely would recommend that 6 to 12 repetitions kind of thing. But you don't have to if you're purely using your training for muscle hypertrophy. If you go back in the olden days, Arnold Schwarzenegger and that used to train heavy, but then as soon as they failed, they'll drop down to the next weight and do as many repetitions as they can. As soon as they couldn't lift that, they'll drop down, do as many repetitions as they can. They were doing plenty of repetitions. It is not the ideal way to train, obviously, because there's new ways to train, as we know. But look, they still gained plenty of muscle doing plenty of repetitions. So think about volume load. As I said, it is the takeaway. Don't think about the repetitions. This one's an interesting one. You see a lot of people, especially beginners, doing their high complex multi-joint exercises straight away. Where this study that I looked into actually saw that you gained more muscle by doing simple singular jointed exercises, whereas the experienced lifters would use more complicated multi-joint exercises. So if you're a beginner, stick more towards the simple singular joint exercises. If you're not a beginner and more experienced lifter, you want to do more complex multi-joint exercises. This is due to the actual fact that your nervous system gains quicker than your muscle hypertrophy. So all the complex multi-joint exercises, they require a lot of neural input to do the exercise, where simple joints like doing a bicep curl is just doing elbow flexion, very easy for your neural system to do it. So actually, if you're a beginner and you start doing big squats, deadlifts and that, it's a lot of multi-joint movements happening that your nervous system has to adapt to. So the nervous system takes longer to adapt, muscle hypertrophy will come later. But experienced lifters, they've already got that neural input. That's why they will have a greater muscle hypertrophy seen in the muscle protein synthesis than the beginners. So beginners, still definitely do your squats and deadlifts because you want to gain that neural input. But if you want to get those gains straight away, more single joint exercises will give a better effect of that muscle hypertrophy earlier. Another one. Post-exercise increase in hormone levels such as testosterone and human growth hormone have little to no correlation in muscle hypertrophy. So actually after you exercise, you gain a little increase in testosterone and that growth hormone in the blood. But you'll see there's plenty of studies, a million studies I can give you, that it does not correlate to your muscle hypertrophy. So like deadlifts and squats, they release more testosterone after it, but it actually doesn't correlate to the muscle hypertrophy. So you don't have to worry too much about the exercises that are releasing that increased testosterone and human growth hormone after. It has little to no effects. Another big one, muscle hypertrophy, you need to be in a fed state. Fed state is crucial. If you are not in a fed state, you are not going to be upregulating the mTOR system. Your body will not be thinking, let's make muscle. Your body will be thinking, let's get the heart, let's get the lungs, let's get the brain with all the energy. Your muscles, your priority in the body is not to make muscle. So you need to be in a fed state so that you have enough energy in the system, that you got plenty of energy, so that then the spare energy can be used to go, all right, we did a workout before, let's focus some of this energy now to adapt to become stronger. But if you are not in a fed state, your energy is focused somewhere else. So protein is going to be going into other systems to make sure that your body is going to be functioning properly. So you need to be in a fed state. Also, you need at least 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass to maximize the upregulation of the mTOR response. So this was just a study that showed that 1.5 grams of protein actually gave the best upregulation of the mTOR response, which is what we want. Alright, ingesting protein immediately after the resistance training bout leads to significant gains in muscle cross-sectional area over 12 weeks compared to a resistance trained group who did not. So this study, I believe you took the protein within 30 minutes of the exercise over 12 weeks, and they showed greater muscle hypertrophy over that 12-week period to the resistance group who did not. And this resistance group took it 2 hours later. 2 hours later. So if you do your workout, then drive home for an hour, muck around, then have your protein shake, you're actually, not doing any good for yourself. You need to take it immediately after or in that 30-minute period. So if you're taking it 2 hours later, you're actually, not really maximizing your gains. You could have got like a 20% increase or a 30% increase in the mTOR response, but if you took it, 2 hours later, you might only be getting a 5 to 10% increase. So that is a crucial one as well. You need to intake that protein, otherwise you're just, doing that workout. It's not much point. That's a key one, guys. Make sure you take the protein. You can take it before and after. It doesn't always have to be after. Remember, you want to be in that fed state, as that previous point said. So you want to eat before. You want to have the protein after. You can have protein during it. You can have protein before it. Protein during, I do mean like having some of those branched chain amino acids, the essential ones, of course, and a bit of protein, whey protein powder could be in your little drink that you're sipping on. That's fine. As I just said there, essential amino acid consumption such as leucine. Leucine is so good. It directly upregulates the mTOR response. It will lead to muscle protein synthesis. If I had to recommend supplements, obviously protein powder is good if your diet's not the best, but leucine is a real big one. If you take leucine during your workout, or especially after it as well, it's going to upregulate that mTOR response, which leads to muscle protein synthesis. It directly upregulates the mTOR system. It is key. You want that. Consumption of non-essential amino acids have no direct response to the anabolic pathways of muscle building. So you see a lot of sales in the supplements. The non-essential amino acids, you can look them up. You don't need to take it. If you're taking them, you're wasting your money. You need to take the essential amino acids, especially leucine. Leucine is key. It's directly upregulates mTOR response. I can't say it enough. It is key. The non-essential ones, if you're taking it, spending all your money on it, get rid of it. Get rid of it. You're wasting your money. Go spend it on creatine or leucine or your protein powder. Do not waste your money on that. So that's it for the tips, guys. So thanks for listening. If you want to find my Instagram, it's coach_AidenM. If you got any comments or questions, DM me on Instagram, put a comment down below. If you need to have a look at the research that I've given from the facts, please don't hesitate. I've happily got my literature review that I can easily find all the topics, all the literature where I found it from, all the studies. If you're also interested in reading the literature review, I'm happy to send you a copy as well. But thanks, guys, for listening. Appreciate it. Please take these facts into consideration. Don't just have a look at the big juiced up people that are saying, yep, you need to do this and that. You need to read the literature. These are the people doing the studies, the exercise scientists doing the studies that are seeing the results firsthand on multiple subjects, not just on themselves. Remember, everyone adapts differently, okay? Just one person who has very good genetics that are going to get muscle heaps quickly and he does it this way doesn't mean that you're going to get it that way. You need to look at the literature, look at the multi-subject. You want multiple people in the studies, which I've done and had a look through, not just one person. Have a look at this advice. Hopefully it helps improve your muscle building. Let me know if it's helped. But remember, muscle building takes time. It does not happen at the beginning. The first 4 weeks is like neural input, nervous system's building up. it takes longer. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Hope this helped.